I was watching this interview the other day, and there was a specific clip that stood out to me because it reflected back the values I feel like God has shown me. So I wanted to show it and just kind of talk about it.
Saying I can't, lying, and saying I hate you were bringing me pain. So the opposite must bring pleasure, right? Tell the truth, love, and believe that you can. The hands soothed much more than they hurt, 999 times out of 1,000.
I feel this has reflected deeply on the meaning of God's love in my life because there's situations I've put myself in that He's pulled me out of, and the experiences that I put myself in, He kind of carved a path in those experiences. I feel like He's shown me that I can, that He loves me, and that His grace is sufficient, and that His truth is more important than my struggle. And so something I've learned is like God's love is tough in the sense that He will shine a light on the result of our free will, but He also shows what the opposite of that looks like in that process. Like through the process of showing how detrimental our sin is, He shows us how powerful walking with Him can be. But I think we all have the choice of how we want to carry on, because even if you haven't realized yet how detrimental your sin is, eventually you will. And you have to acknowledge that. God won't give you a choice whether you can or can't. He's going to make you acknowledge the pain and the suffering that your sin will cause. But He's also going to give you an out, which is Him, because that's what His grace does. No matter how many times we sin, He does this, but that doesn't mean we can keep sinning. How are you going to take advantage of God's grace and God's love? Because at the end of the day, God sits and He lets us have free will. And so something I've learned is that God gracefully shows us the truth. And that truth is a process. But we have the free will to choose sin. And our sin leads to suffering. And so He wants to show us that our sin leads to suffering. So in that process of showing what our sin does to us, He can also show us what His love does for us. And sometimes that might be painful. Like sometimes the way He shows us what our sins can cause can feel like we're suffering, but 99 times out of 100, like the interview said, like it ends in resolution. It ends in His love. It ends in His sufficient